Today, I'd like to share with you something, a mini training on a topic that I feel really passionate about. And that topic is around really understanding through our embodied wisdom, understanding that we need to learn two different types of skills. So there are two different types of skills you need to learn as a self-employed person, whether it is part-time employed or full-time, fully self-employed person, or running your own business. And those two types of skills are: the type one is to learn really well your modality or your modalities. So this is learning your trade, learning the tools, learning the approaches, learning the models, learning to work with your students and your clients, learning to respond through somatic empathy, learning to hold a safer space for your students and your clients, learning to really meet your students and your clients where they are at. The skill number one of trauma-informed approach, really being able to provide safe environment and meet your students and clients where they are at in compassionate, empowered way. Following, if you are a trauma-informed practitioner, following the 5 pillars of trauma-informed yoga approach, having very clear boundaries, compassionate boundaries, being able to offer a lot of choice, collaborate with your students and your clients. There is a lot that we need to learn. Some of it is on a knowledge level, like understanding, what is nervous system? How does the nervous system work? What is a polyvagal theory? What is resilience? What is embodiment? What is, how does the vagus nerve work? How to use yoga postures, movement, breath, as you are teaching in trauma-informed way. There is a lot of knowledge here, knowledge-based stuff that we need to learn. There is philosophy, there is psychology, there is so much. The soma, psyche, and soul kind of stuff. And then there is the practice for ourselves, with our students and clients. Practice. Learn, reflect, learn, practice. And then it shifts into embodied wisdom. The books can't teach you that. The books are a great start, but they cannot teach you how to effectively work within your modality. There is no shortcut for this. And recently, I've had a lot of conversations, a lot of conversations with so many yoga teachers, and practitioners. And over the years, I've been mentoring people for over 20 years now. I started mentoring volunteers just over 20 years ago, when I was working in a crisis center called City Roads Crisis Intervention Center in the center of London, for a detox place for chaotic long-term drug users, detoxing from heroin and crack and benzos, Valium, some alcohol as well. So really, I understand that it takes a long time to learn something and make it embodied wisdom. You can learn something and read something and understand it relatively quickly, some stuff quicker than others, but to actually integrate it, to practice it enough that it becomes your embodied resilience, that takes time. There is no shortcut for that. So that's one type of skill. Learn your trade, your modality. If you are teaching yin yoga, yes, you can learn it. And there's been a really great article recently published by one of the very experienced yoga teachers You can learn um, about yin yoga, for example, within a few hours. You can read few books, you can understand it, but to actually teach from that embodied space, it's gonna take you months, if not years, of practicing consistently, of teaching consistently, to really experience nuances of it, to teach from that embodied space. So that's number one. And really, if you're working with people, you've got to put a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of love into learning those skills. The second type of skills, if you are self-employed, whether part-time or fully self-employed, is the business skills. And these are not the same set of skills that you learn when you learn your trade or your modality or your modalities. It's not the same type of skills. And why would you need to learn business skills? So it is a different way of working. If you are working, for example, like if I think about the last charity that I was working for, it was a big charity. They had loads of different departments, people and teams working within each department. They had marketing department that was responsible for marketing, promoting, reaching out, doing networking. They had another team that was responsible for writing tenders for to get money, basically to run the services. They had other teams, like our teams that had, I was responsible for teams, managing, supervising and running teams for local kind of areas, in Kent, for family intervention. There were other teams that were responsible for working with substance misuse and mental health. They had other teams that were responsible for psychological well-being. They had loads of different teams. When you are a self-employed person, you wear all of those hats yourself, unless you've got loads of money and you can outsource it all and get other people to do it for you, in which case you don't even have to watch this video. Otherwise, this is the kind of stuff that most of us have not learned. It's like we come maybe from being employed, and then we learn our modality, and then we suddenly realize that we have to learn those other skills, like learning about strategy and marketing skills and techniques, and how to make business decisions that are aligned, that are right for our business, and also how to take care of ourselves, so within our business, because when you are self-employed, the business is all about you. If you are not well, you can't see students, you can't teach, you can't see clients. So you have to find a way that is really sustainable, that allows you to show up day after day, knowing that as a self-employed person, you don't get a sick pay, you don't have allocated holiday time. You have to do it all for yourself. You have to manage your money, you have to learn how to do your website, you have to learn how to do social media, you have to, if you are doing videos or you are writing blogs, if you are writing newsletters, there's so much within that. And, this is a completely different set of skills. When I speak to yoga teachers, often they will say that they had 2 hours within the yoga teacher training for business stuff, which is nothing, absolutely nothing. I understand that within the context of foundation 200-hour or even 300-hour or even 500-hour yoga teacher training, we focus on trade, on modality skills, not on business skills. So we have to learn that later. And if you are struggling with not having enough students in your yoga class, if you're struggling with not having enough clients one-to-one, students one-to-one, or whether for your massage practice, or classes, workshops, one-to-ones, retreat, it means that not enough people are aware of the service that you provide, or they are aware but they don't understand what you do, what are the benefits, what the benefits would be to them. And so we have to learn those skills. And it takes a while. Again, just like with your trade or modality skills, there are no shortcuts. I've been learning this stuff I think for about, I started before I left social care. So it's been at least 8 years, if not 10 years, that I've been, joining business trainings and working with coaches and working with mentors and, learning the language, even the language, to understand what different things are meant within that business language is quite challenging sometimes. And a lot of stuff within kind of normal business trainings is not really aligned. I found not really aligned, and I couldn't really do stuff in a certain kind of ways. So pick the stuff that really works for you. Takes time as well. One of the coaches that I follow, or business consultants that I follow and I really like, says it really nicely, that everything is an experiment in business. We take it, we learn a technique and we see, is it going to work for us? How can it work for us? Let's schedule it. Let's make it a strategy. Let's follow up with it. And then we get the data. It's like, has it worked? Okay, it worked. Why did it work? Or no, it didn't work. Why didn't it work? Or maybe it didn't work because I only shared it 3 times on Facebook over 3 weeks, and I sent 1 newsletter. There is, it didn't work because nobody was interested, or people didn't really get what I was talking about, or something was misaligned. And is it that, am I going to run it again with that different understanding and learning, or am I going to let go of it? And most of us, from my experience, let go of things, and then we focus on something else and try something else. We don't give it enough time to really do it at least 3 or 4 times, so we've got enough data, enough feedback to actually make informed decisions. So business skills are really important. And I know so many yoga teachers who I know were really good yoga teachers who gave up teaching. And that was even before the pandemic. I knew about 15 to 20 yoga teachers before the pandemic that gave up teaching because they knew how to teach yoga and they were good at it, but they didn't have business understanding of business skills, understanding and practice to actually make it work, to make it sustainable. So this is why, I support other yoga teachers. I continuously learn myself, and I support other yoga teachers and wellness practitioners in developing those 2 skills. For me, becoming trauma-informed practitioner, yoga teacher, is key in the current world situation. I think it's quite obvious, really, when we look around us, when we watch TV, when we, I've just been in Poland for over a week, the war in Ukraine and everything that is happening there. It's obvious that we need to work in trauma-informed approach. And then there is the business skills. The business skills that will allow us to stay working in a sustainable and thriving way as practitioners, without burnout, without hustle, without trying to be everywhere on all social media and then having sleepless, anxious nights because we are wondering how we're going to pay our bills. So this is why I wanted to invite you next week to a free 3-day challenge. We're starting on Monday. It's going to run over Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And so at 11:30 a.m. UK time, I'm going to be showing up here in the Facebook group, doing a Facebook Live like this, with focus on a specific subject each day. So I shared some information around it. I will be sharing information over the weekend. The Facebook Lives videos will stay within the group for a bit longer after the challenge. And then on Thursday, following from it, I am running my quarterly planning retreat, which is a 3-hour planning workshop, which is part of Yoga Business Mandala, 1-year mentoring and coaching program for yoga teachers and therapists and wellness practitioners. But I also offer it to other yoga teachers. If you'd like to, if after the 3-day challenge you think that you'd like to join us for that workshop, I will be sharing information about this too. And there will be a replay for over a week afterwards. So if you drop out or if you can just engage for some of it, you can join us for that. And I will be sharing the information about this. So then there is free challenge, and then a paid workshop, low cost paid workshop for £36 on Thursday if you'd like to join us for it. There is no expectation that you will, only an invitation if you think it will be useful for you and helpful for you to plan out the first quarter, the first 90 days of 2023. And the lovely thing about this is that if you do it once, you can do it again. You can use the same system again each quarter to help you stay focused and grounded and make your business really sustainable. I will be sharing the stuff through all of those 4 days. I will be sharing stuff that really worked for me from all the different stuff that I've done. Simple stuff, because for me, simplicity is a real important thing. So many things out there are so complicated, overcomplicated. The launch is overcomplicated. Really, over the top stuff, and we don't need that. In fact, I personally know I don't have a lot of time to be doing very complicated stuff. I like it to be simple, effective, that gives me data, and that I can repeat again and again and again. So I hope that makes sense. I hope you can see from what I'm saying how important it is for us to not just develop our trade or modality skills, but also really pay attention to our business. And at some point, focusing more on developing of the business rather than yet add another modality or another approach is much more important, because that might mean that you will be able to stay in your business, stay teaching and sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge, sharing your healing for much longer or a longer time. So have a really good weekend, and I really hope that I will be seeing you here next week on Monday at 11:30, or you will be watching the replay next week about how to create the best 2023 for you. Take care for now.